What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Noob. Now, you know that I am a big lover of manga and light novels. I read a ton of them. But you know what I like more than finding new mangas? Actually completing a manga series. Which nowadays is kind of rare. Unfortunately, with stuff like One Piece and Naruto and so many others, there's just no end in sight. But every now and then, I come across one that I actually read from beginning to end. Today, I want to talk to you about a manga series that I have been reading that just recently finished its arc. It is called Gal Gohan. This is a romance comedy story, bit of a slice of life, that I have enjoyed since it first showed up. The story takes place in your typical Japanese high school. Meet your main character, Shinji Yoda. He is the teacher to the home economics class. He's been at this school for several months and it feels that he has not made a connection with that many students, and he's trying to figure out how he can do that. Luckily for him, something that will help him get closer to his students stumbles into his classroom. Meet Miku Okazaki, the gallerist gal in the high school. Now, if you don't know what a gal girl is, basically in Japanese culture, they are the fashionist kind of students. They're usually the typical females who tend to tan their skin, have blonde or very light colored hair, and tend to wear makeup and fashion accessories. And in mangas, they're commonly portrayed as someone who doesn't mind showing off the skimpier side of them. You know, shorter skirts, blouses never quite done up fully, and they are quite unique. Now, you might be wondering, why is this student coming to the home economics teacher after class? Well, you see, she's not very good at being a student. Recently, she has been failing a lot of her tests, and it has come to the point where even the staff and faculty have given up on her. The principal has basically said to her that she can't do her things, but the principal doesn't want to expel her. So he basically gives up and gives her kind of a female-ish role, just tells her to go make cookies and he'll let it slide. Which, in my opinion, is kind of a dick thing, but whatever, it gets to the whole story. Miku decides that she is going to go to the home economics teacher because it's been rumored that he likes to cook, which he does. And she wants him to help her bake cookies. Now, when it comes to her cooking skills, she is bad. There is no way I can sugarcoat this. She is horrible. And now you might be wondering what level of horrible I'm talking about. Well, when it came to making rice in a later on episode, she was told to clean rice, and she was one of these airheaded people who thought that meant using dish soap. Yeah, if you've ever cleaned rice, you know you don't use dish soap, you just use water. So Mr. Yabe decides that he is going to help her learn how to make cookies, and like I said, she is bad at it. She can't mix right, she's very messy, and like I said earlier, gal girls really kind of don't have this personal barrier thing, and she ends up showing her panties and bra and a lot throughout this series. But back to the cooking. Her first batch of cookies come out terrible, burnt, the classic charcoal looking things. Now, she gets kind of upset, and at first, Mr. Yabe tells her that it's okay, he will make her some so she can give out to teachers. Now, she gets really depressed because he was the last teacher who may have helped her, but it seems that he has given up on her like all the others. Now, she gets kind of sad, and he sees this. So he grabs her arm and tells her, no, you are not allowed to give up. We will work through this. We will do it again. We will make a different type of cookies. And thus, they try again. Luckily, the second batch of cookies come out and she really enjoys them. And in fact, he's surprised how good they come out. It is at this moment that she starts to take an interest in him and becomes kind of infatuated and falls in love with him. After doing the cookies and after helping her, Mr. Yabe decides that is how he's going to get close to students. He is going to create a cooking club so he can teach others how to cook and enjoy themselves. Now, of course, Miku hears about this and she gladly joins his thing. Not only because she wants to learn to cook, but she also wants to find a way to get close to him so she can flirt with him. And thus, the beginning of their story happens. Now, this all happened just in the first chapter of the manga, which is a lot to take in. I love the dynamics between these two. They constantly go at it very well. Now, a lot of people, they kind of, especially in this day and age, they get kind of wishy-washy when it comes to an older teacher person and a younger student person falling in love. But throughout this whole series, she may tease him because she's fallen in love with him, but he is very professional. All the time. I'm your teacher. I cannot fall in love with you. I cannot do anything. That's how their relationship goes. Throughout this series, they continuously spend every day learning how to cook and becoming closer to each other, which I find quite adorable. But this is a school environment in this manga, so of course, the relationship between a student and a teacher is not allowed. And this eventually draws the eyes of the student council vice president. Meet Koharu Fujiwara. She is the vice president student council member. She's very diligent, she's a few years ahead of Miku, and she has heard rumors and seen the interaction between these two. She takes an interest in this because she is one of those very rule-strict kind of people. These are the rules, this is what happens. Relationships between a student and a teacher are not allowed. So she decides that she is going to observe them during their process to see how they interact. And the first thing she demands is hamburger steak, which is something very simple to make. Even I've made this. It's a big staple in Japan apparently, but it's really good. But it's also very simple. Unfortunately, since Fujiwara is there, Miku is a little embarrassed and intimidated, and she's really worried because if Fujiwara does not think that they are an actual club, she is going to disband them. Her first attempts at the hamburger steak comes out terrible. But after pleading with her, and even Mr. Yabe getting into it and pleading, she gives him a second chance. Because she sees how earnest that Miku is actually trying. And being that Miku was a student who did terrible at grades, this is actually looking good. Luckily for the group, the second hamburger steak comes out really well. To the point where she is happy with it. She's seen how they interact with each other. Even though Miku teases the teacher, Mr. Yabe is keeping professional, she decides that she's not going to disband it. Unfortunately, Miku's friends, who are other fellow gal girls, show up and teased Mr. Yabe as well. She decides she is going to join this group on a regular basis because she needs to keep an eye on them. Now, you do remember I told you this is a romantic comedy manga. Well, unfortunately, you can't have a romantic comedy unless you have a few rivals. Miss Fujiwara at first is not a rival, but thanks to how Mr. Yabe treats her like a normal person, not as a vice president of student council, and in fact there's even a point where she's trying to ignore eating because she's busy, and he basically scolds her, telling her, you need to eat, and he takes care of her. Because of this, she starts to have feelings for her, and to the point where eventually she realizes she may have fallen in love with him. Which is kind of cute because, like I said, she's one of those serious, rule-strict kind of characters. And to see her get embarrassed because of this is, of course, adorable. The story continues on, usually with these two girls and Mr. Fujiwara. And, of course, every now and then, Miku's friends show up to tease him. But the interaction between the characters is quite pure and innocent, and I like this story. Yes, there was Miku who was trying to flirt with her teacher to the point where she's even telling him that she's training herself to be his future wife. And then you got Fujiwara, who is very serious, very, rule strict. She takes care of her family. But then she gets kind of pampered by Mr. Yabe, and she enjoys that. And then later on down the series, an old friend of Mr. Yabe's does show up. Her name is Nagisa Shirahama. She is the new chemistry teacher to the school. She used to be the old senpai to Mr. Yabe in college. The girls later find out that she used to have romantic feelings for Mr. Yaba. Now, at first, she just kind of flirts with Mr. Yubei, kind of teasing the girls, but eventually her whole feelings start to come back out. So now you have a love triangle around this man who is doing his best to just be a serious teacher. I have enjoyed this manga from the beginning. I actually read it from the first day I saw it online to this weekend when the last chapter came out and it completed. It has been a very fun ride to watch the ups and downs of these three ladies trying to get the affection of Mr. Yabe. And of course, he is a teacher and he is trying to keep his emotions in check because throughout this series he does come to realize he does like Miss Miku, but she is too young, she is his student, and he has to do things properly. This was a very good romance comedy, especially when it comes to gal girls. In most mangas, gal girls are portrayed as, I hate to say the term slutty, but that's kind of how they come off. But Miku is very pure. Yes, she kind of dresses very provocatively, and she does show off the goods a lot, but she doesn't mean anything bad like it. And she's so pure that even one time when she does sneak in a kiss on his cheek, she gets so embarrassed that she runs away. I love mangas like this because they're just pure and wholesome. And yes, there's a little bit ecchi because of, panty shots and bra shots, but in the end, it's just a girl falling in love with a guy, and a guy doing his best to be responsible even though he slowly falls in love with her. This was a good manga from beginning to end, and it's one that I think if you enjoy the school rom-coms, you will enjoy this. Well, folks, let me know in the comments below. Are you the type of people who like the gal girls? Do you like the school romance comedies? Or do you prefer something a little more ecchi or maybe a little more pure? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, folks, I'm the Noob. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch y'all later. See ya.